Callie, Lawson-Freeman. I just love saying your whole name like that. Anyway, but Callie, listen. Yesterday there were some games in the W, and one of them, which was really great for so many reasons, was Lynx versus the New York Liberty. Now listen. In part, some might say that game wasn't very good. The Lynx took a really big lead early, and even though, New York tried to rally, they never really got back enough. I mean, they did make it single digits at one time, but the lead just, I think, ballooned too much for them to be able to come back, because when you lose, when you get into a big deficit, you have to exert so much energy to try to get back in the game. And so, I really enjoyed watching that game yesterday and covering it, because I suspected the Lynx were going to win. As you know, I've been saying all year the Lynx are the best. Well, look, with a little asterisk for the Aces, okay? But I think the Lynx have played the best basketball this season as a team. And even though they will finish most likely at number 2, though logistically they could still grab the 1 seed, I would say that but for Nafisa Collier's injury this year, they probably would have caught the Liberty and taken over that 1 seed. I think they've played the best basketball this season, and I think they've set themselves up nicely. This is a case where, you ever heard that old school phrase, first is the worst, second is the best? This might be the time where second is actually the best, because their path to try to get to the WNBA finals, in my opinion, feels like a slightly easier path. They would right now see the Mercury in the first round.
Oh, right. Yep.
Okay. Then in the second round, they would get either the Lynx or the Sun. I would pick Minnesota in either one of those series. Okay.
Yeah.
Juxtapose that with the Liberty, who works so hard all season to have the 1 seed. And a lot of that too, I mean, look, you want the 1 seed because you want the 1 seed, so you have home court throughout. But some of that too is like, you don't expect the Aces to be as low as where they are. So they're on the same side of the bracket this year. So if, I expect no matter who they play in the first round, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but no matter who they play, I expect the Liberty to win that first round series, and I don't expect them to have to play 3 games. So that should be easy. But their second round matchup could be the Aces or the Storm. And if it is the Aces, this Aces team playing the way they are, I don't think it matters that you've won the regular season series against them. And they also have, whether people think that's real or not, the mental edge of now beating you twice, 2 years in the final. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just wondering, should the Liberty be concerned at all, Callie?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just going to say, I think that I view it similarly to you. It's like the Aces, they may not have beat the Liberty this season, but that was the case last season as well. Like, they struggled against the Liberty in the regular season, and then in the postseason, different story. So I've kind of just like resigned to that fact in my mind. But then with the Aces and Lynx, as if that were to happen, like, that scares me more than the Aces and Liberty. You know what I mean? Like, I have pretty high confidence in the second round if the Aces were to go against the Liberty. I think part of that too is just like, I think like the way teams match up, like, and that's something that we could have probably even talked about in our previous discussion when we were talking about kind of like the Suns potential matchups. Like, it doesn't really matter. Look, like, you could be the best team ever, but like a team you just might not match up well with.
Playoffs are all about the matchups.
Right. And so I think that, I don't know. The Lynx scare me personally, because I think it's like they have, so like, yes, Nafisa Collier is an absolute baller and she's leading the team, but their wins are pretty consistently evenly distributed. Like they can really hurt you in multiple ways. And so I think that like even in this way, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, they are lethal. They
Yeah.
are lethal.
Yes. Like they're scary from the perimeter. They're gonna shoot them threes. Then they have like they recently signed Maisha Hines-Allen. She fit with the team so quickly. So then it's like I don't like just look. Okay, I'm looking back at this Liberty win. Bridget Carlton had 19 points. Courtney Williams had 15. Then Nafisa had a double-double of 18 points and 13 rebounds.
Yeah. And look, we could say what we want. Like people can say what they want, but to me it's 3-1. I'm counting the Commissioner's Cup. These teams played 4 times this year, including the Commissioner's Cup. And in my opinion, now I can say, before I've been saying all year that the Liberty have only outplayed them in 1 quarter, and it was the quarter that they won to win the last matchup. I can now say the Liberty outplayed them in 2 because they made a run yesterday, but I was like, this run is fake. Like, it wasn't a fake run, as in, like, it really happened, but it's fake, like, in, like, you're just not going to be able to make up this deficit. Like most teams, you get that big of a lead, you sort of take your foot off the gas, but you, like I said, the opposing team exerts so much energy. And, to her, Brianna Stewart, she played incredible yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she demonstrated why she's still New York's MVP, because there's been a lot of conversation about, yeah, and whoever is going to get an MVP vote this year for them, it should be Sabrina. And I've never agreed with that. And so, listen, Stewie showed why. But, the thing is, when 2 teams are sort of evenly matched, and I'm not sure that I would consider this 2 teams that are evenly matched, just being candid. But if we want to say these are 2 teams that are evenly matched, 2 teams that have great bench depth, I actually would say from a high-end talent perspective, arguably the Liberty actually are the more talented team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're a super team. That was the whole conversation last year, right?
Right. But the Lynx are a perfect example of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. And Brianna Stewart yesterday ended with 38 points and 18 rebounds. Okay. Like, had an amazing game. So to me, when you look at 2 teams and they're sort of close, right? And New York would have home court advantage, but that doesn't seem to affect the Liberty. They've now won twice in New York's home court, the Commissioner's Cup. And even if you say, well, that wasn't really Barclays, they just won yesterday at Barclays, right? So we know that they have the ability to win, go on the road and win. Right. So to me, then it's always about, well, who has the best player in the series? And while I would say in terms of like tier 1 top players in the league, yes, Nafisa and Brianna are like both tier 1 players. But I think Nafisa has been better. I would say right now, if I have to say who's the better player, I would say it's Nafisa. Right. And
that is shaking the table. But I don't think you're wrong, but I think that's shaking the table. Like, I wonder. I don't know.
I'm not saying all time. I'm talking about this season. She's had a better season. I think she's the better player right now. And so right now at this stage, based on the way they both have been playing, but to me, this is not me saying Stewie's in decline. I know there were like some weird talks about her earlier.
Yeah, none of that. We're not doing that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that at all. Like, I love that she reminded everyone yesterday who she is. I'm just saying that I always look to who has the best player in a series. And to me, if it does end up being this version of the Aces that's playing well versus the Lynx in like the finals, the difference maker would be Asia, because Asia's her own tier. She's a tier above everyone right now, because the Lynx have the collective team, and Aces right now playing team ball the way they are wouldn't be an easy matchup. I don't think it would look like the way those games went a little earlier in the season, right after the Olympics. But I don't know. I feel like I definitively can say like Asia would be the best player in that series. I think it's a toss up if it's like Lynx versus Liberty. And everything I've seen, the Lynx have hands down been the better team this year.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Like I said, I'm personally afraid of the Lynx. I would not want to play them at all.
Yeah. And so, I mean, look, we don't even know who New York is going to see in the first round, right? And like, look, shout out to, the 8th spot being like wide open right now. It is a race to 8.
Right.
And it's crazy because I think, look, I think if obviously Kennedy Carter doesn't go out, this trade wasn't executed, and Angel Reese never gets hurt. Now they're dealing with Camilla. There's just so many things that have happened to the Chicago Sky. But I think if their team remained intact, I feel very confident they would have definitely been the 8th seed, maybe even moved up a little bit. Who knows with the way the Mercury were starting to drop games, right? I think they would have firmly been in the playoff race. But right now, they are in a 3-way tie with the Mystics.
Yeah.
And no. I'm saying that because, and the Dream. And I'm saying that because, the Mystics started the season 0-12, Callie. The Mystics were supposed to be in the Paige Becker's sweepstakes. And they right now currently, by virtue of a tiebreaker, have the 8th seed. So today, as of today, they would be who the Liberty match up with. So I'm just going to tell you real quickly.
Yep.
The Mystics' final 2 games, okay? Mm-hmm. They have to see the New York Liberty next, who are coming off of a loss to Vegas. Coming off of a loss to the Lynx, but it's an away game, so it'll be in DC, okay? So they have to see them next, right? And then the Dream, they next are going to play Chicago. Right? In Atlanta. So it's Chicago and Atlanta. And Chicago has to also then after play the Sun, right?
That's
okay.
Tough.
And then the Dream's final 2 games are, like we mentioned, it's Chicago and it's, who's their final game against? I'm about to tell you. So, I mean, based on these schedules that I'm telling you, what do you think? I know you said that it's tough, but what I think is interesting, the Dream, their final game would be against the Liberty. So they have the Sky and then they have the Liberty. Okay. Mm-hmm. The thing is, though, I think by Thursday, a number of teams, that last game won't matter. They won't need to play. If the Liberty go into DC and handle business tomorrow, they won't need to play.
Yeah.
The next game. They've locked up the 1 seed.
You might see some resting, some stuff like that. And then that's going to really change the.
Right. So the teams look like, man, there's no way they're going to win both of those games, but maybe they do. I mean, they would still have to beat the Sky first, but it's just, there's so many variables with these final 2 games that you just don't know. And I think I didn't say the Mystics' last game would be against the Fever. The Fever go into town, and the way Caitlin Clark was talking the other day, it does not seem like she's planning not to play. Now, I don't know if that will change, but because she was saying look, I didn't think they were going to give me a flagrant foul because that wouldn't be fair for the fans for the final game of the season, because Indiana, if they drop that last game, they'll finish the season at 500. Mm-hmm. So if they lose. So, but if they want to win, they'll go and they'll play and they would finish the season with a winning record versus a 500 record. So I don't know if that's incentive enough for them to play. They're locked into the 6th seed, but at least the way Caitlin Clark was talking in her presser, it seems like they're going to play when they go to Washington. So knowing that sort of the circumstances, who's making the 8th seed? And tell me who you think's making the 8th seed, and tell me which one would be the best matchup for New York from their perspective of who they'd want to play most.
Well, okay, me personally, and this is no tea, no shade, I really feel like this is kind of a non-discussion in terms of who the Liberty would prefer to see. Any 3 of those teams, I think is going to be easy work for the Liberty. I think, like you said, if the Sky were at full capacity and all these things hadn't happened, then I think I would like that match. Well, I would kind of dislike that matchup for the Liberty in a way, just because we've seen them a few times this season, and
tire them out a little bit. They'd win, but they'd probably tire them out a little bit.
Exactly. So I think that, but otherwise, I'm not worried about the Mystics to get the Liberty are going to beat the Mystics, and the Liberty are going to beat the Dream. easy work, and they're also going to beat this guy as they currently are. So that part is like kind of a non-factor to me. In terms of like who it will be, I think that it would be pretty hilarious if it were the Mystics. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping for right now. If it's not them, then listen, you asked me, you provided all of the important factual information about the schedule, about the variables. This is all complicated stuff. And I don't want to get into it. I don't want
it to be the Mystics. I really don't.
I want it
It's
to
a cool story.
I mean, maybe the dream would be fun, I guess. But I'm
Tina
like,
Charles has been having an incredible season.
What do you say?
Tina Charles has been having an incredible season.
She really has. And Ryan Howard, and like the way that the dream have kind of like pulled it together, it's fun and I like it. But I just like craziness more. And I think starting 0-12 and making the playoffs is so crazy. I hope it happens.
Yeah, I don't. And like, that's no shade. This is because I'm looking out for the Mystics' future. I'm looking out for the best interest of their future because I'm mad that they've done this. I understand the players are going to do it. They're going to go for it. Hello, Paige Beckers, Kiki, I own the prize. Y'all are not winning. Y'all are not winning this series. So, the players are never going to go out there and throw the game. So business decisions must be made. So,
I think through that lens, I mean, see, if you had led with that, I would have started with
think about all the factors, girl. I can't give you everything.
Well, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't really think of that. But like, and I think just in terms like big picture, that's something to look at even with the Sky. Like, real talk, like they
don't have their pick. So it's a little different for them.
Yeah.
And also with the Sky, like some people are making that argument. Huh?
That's not where I was headed with that in terms of like business decisions, more like just big picture, kind of looking at what they've done. Like they were not even they were projected to be last. You know what I mean? So I think that you could look at what they've done this season and be like, nice. You know what I mean? Like they did more than they were supposed to do. And so I think once you look at it through that lens, it is kind of like it should be the dream. It should be the dream. They should be in the playoffs.
Well, they have to win out. So because of like some of the tiebreakers and things like that. So listen, I would not be upset if it's the dream. My preference is that it's Sky or Dream. The Sky are pretty injury riddled. So, there's a lot of people that's like, look, just sit the players, wrap it up. But, I feel like for someone like Kennedy Carter, who was not in the league last year, to have a playoff moment, I just think it would still be invaluable experience, and if you somehow can beat the Dream, you've basically eliminated them.
Yeah.
I don't think they would win their last game against the Sun if the Sun come in with like their full arsenal, but we don't know if they will. But same thing with, the Mystics playing the Fever, right? Because they would still need to win. But if the Mystics lost, then they'd be okay. So I've tweeted and posted all these tiebreaker scenarios. So y'all should go just scroll my timeline if you want to see them. But I just think that like if you get Camilla enough rest leading up that her shoulder feels better, you know what I mean? Then it's just like, because that would be a great experience for her as a rookie in her first year.
About it. She's been playing since what month? April?
To me, it's about what the players want versus also like if you're not putting anyone in more harm, because some things with injuries, it's not always that like you're gonna like re-injure yourself. It's a pain tolerance thing, but there's not really any real risk of like doing anything harmful. So that I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not equipped to answer that. But after all that they've been through this season, I think, yes, people will understand if they don't make the playoffs, but I think it would still be a cool story if they did. And it would also be a very cool story for Atlanta. And I think it's a cool story for the Mystics that they are even in contention after the way that they started. But they need to I want Paige and Kiki between LA and DC. Those are the two teams I want them in. I don't want them in Dallas or anywhere else. So that's where I'm leaving it. So Tuesday we'll answer a lot of questions. I cannot wait. But the season many of the games are going to matter down to the very end, and that's always great when you have that. So I'm looking for wrapping up these last 2 days of the WNBA season.
Me too. I'm excited.